What's up, Dragon Brood? Lorwyn Eclipsed is about to drop on MTG Arena, and it's about that time where people are trying to decide, are these cards worth putting together on the account? In other words, crafting them and spending your wild cards on them, or your cash if you're trying to build stuff in paper. We're going to try to help you out with that and tell you some things that have been underperforming, so maybe you don't spend your money or your wild cards on them just yet. Also, caveats, don't use just my advice, watch a couple other videos. Be sure to make your decisions on all that information, not just from any one source. And no, we can't talk about every single card that's underperforming, just like we can on everything that's overperforming. And we have done that video already, hopefully to remember to get it linked here so you can watch that one after this one. But yeah, we're just going to talk about cards to try to make your life easier. So let's go get into it. First one we have up is Kirol, Attentive First Year. It's a 3-mana, 3/3. It's a vampire cleric, some popular creature types. And you can tap 2 untap creature you control, copy target triggered ability you control. You can choose new targets, only as a sorcery, right? Or actually not a sorcery, but only once each turn. The thing here, though, is literally nobody knows what to do with this card. I've not seen it in a single list. I've not seen anybody attempt. Not to say nobody's tried, but I looked and I couldn't find anybody. And locally, even at local stores, I don't think I saw anybody selling this card for more than $1. So that tells you that it's not super exciting right now. Now, that being said, I do think this card has a lot of potential still. And I think we'll even try building some decks with it here on the channel. But I wouldn't go spending a bunch of wild cards on it right now because whatever you build is probably just going to be super experimental. I would hold off, give it a week or two, let people kind of goof around with this a little bit, and then maybe you could spend your resources a little more confidently. There's definitely some better cards you can spend stuff on that are a lot safer than this one. Goliath Daydreamer. Now, this one's one I want to say, well, first, if you don't know what it is, it's 4 mana, 4/4. Whenever you cast an intro sorcery spell from your hand, you can exile the card, and then whenever you attack, you can cast one of those spells, all that good stuff, without paying its cost. But here's the thing. I only found a couple of lists with it, and don't get me wrong, they were neat and they were interesting. I don't know if I could call them good yet, right? I feel like in a world where things are more competitive or people are playing more spot removal, this could be kind of tough. I do think, though, this has reasonable upside. Now, this is one of those cases where I would say, in Arena, I wouldn't spend resources on it to build it right now. But in paper, you can get these for like 50 cents. So if you want to go for it, you're not really harming yourself at all to go ahead and get it. So I think this is a weird one where normally I would say just no, but I think if I wanted to build something in paper, it's safe. On Arena, I would wait. Let other people figure out what best to do with this first before you spend your resources on it. It's a cool card. It's really interesting. I think we still need to wait just a little longer to figure out what the best thing is to do with it yet before you go spending on it. Because what I've seen so far looked very experimental at best, and a couple of them looked kind of bad. So I don't think we have a true idea of what to do with it yet. Now, this next one actually is a bit surprising to me in Trystan's command. It's a 6 mana sorcery, kindred sorcery, so it's an elf technically. You can copy an elf, you can return 2 permanents from your graveyard to your hand, you can destroy a creature or an enchantment, you can give all your creatures +3/+3 and untap them. Now, I don't think any of these individual abilities on this are bad, but it's another card that I saw literally no one playing. Even when I put together my own elf deck, I looked at this card and went, for 6 mana, there's better things we could do. We could literally just go search for a thing that's going to win the game. Like, why are we wasting time casting this? And at sorcery speed. I feel like if this was an instant, it'd at least have a little more value, that you could respond to some things, maybe untap your team and have a cool blocking scenario. But as a sorcery, I mean, maybe it's a tool to where, like, we generate a bunch of mana, we untap our things, we have more mana. You know, Bob's your uncle, I guess. Figure out what you want to do with the mana after that. But that's kind of like the best I could say for it. And I feel bad because it was a card that came up many times on the stream that people kept asking about. But even since we did the early access thing, I've sketched a couple of different lists together and I'm kind of playing with things. And this is a card I just want to cut all the time. And again, I think the markets also represent the popularity of the card because I didn't see anywhere where this was going for more than $1. In a lot of places, it's barely going for 50 cents. So I don't know. I think people want this to be good. Actually, people want all the commands to be good, but realistically, I think I only saw a couple of them even getting played. So yeah, this is one I'm probably going to say you probably want to wait if you want to pick this one up, whether that's in Arena or paper. I would shy away from this one right now because I just don't think the playability is quite there yet. Okay, I know some of y'all saw this on the screen and you're already rushing to the comments. I get it. Abigale, Eloquent First Year. It's a 2-mana 1/1. It's a bird bard. It has flying, first strike, lifelink. You can choose a creature, remove all those abilities, and then give it also flying, first strike, lifelink. I'm going to tell you something that's going to make it weird that this is on this list. I don't think this card's that bad, and I think this card will end up getting played. However, right now, everything I saw with it, including my own list, seemed very gimmicky. So this is more of like, feel free to do it, but kind of do it at your own risk. There's no guarantee that the deck you put this in is going to be what you want it to be. It'll probably be fun. I don't know if it'll be good. I do think there is a good deck for this card, though, and I think we'll see it probably sometime in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Something will pop up in one of the Magic Online tournaments, or something that'll start climbing the arena ladder, or some creator deck will showcase this thing and people will love it. Then I'd go ahead and do it. But right now, if you do it, you're probably gambling a little bit, so take that into your own hands and do with that information what you will. Again, I know a bunch of you are probably going, how is this on the list? This card's so good. I mean, it's solid. It's about a $1.50, $2 card. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But, I don't think we know a good deck for it just yet. But I do think one will come around. So this is probably like the safest of the cards on the list that you're not going to hate yourself for doing it. You just have to wait a while till you get the best version of whatever it is it's trying to do. Yeah, Collective Inferno. This 5 mana, Convoke. When it enters, choose a creature type. Creatures of that type deal double damage. Like, I just no. Hey, like, here's the thing. We've seen so many cards that say double damage, triple damage, whatever, and they just never end up making it. They just don't, right? Like, we've had so many ways to play the cards cheaply, trick them into play, do all this stuff. They never get played. They just don't. This is going to be the same way. Like, think of people are like, oh, but you could play this for 2 mana. All right, cool. So for 2 mana, I tapped my team, played it, and then I lost my board, and then I just have this enchantment sitting out there. Like, I guess it's cool if my next card's Ball Lightning and I called Elemental, but outside of those very particular situations, what are we doing with this? I mean, hell, think about this right now. We still have cards like Ohair Ashenil that turn every damage into 4 damage. You know, we have a bunch of different stuff that, like, you know, this deals X more damage. What is it? Faded Firepower that came out in Avatar. Actually, that actually works better with the fire breathing decks or fire bending decks, stuff like that. Like, those are all better than this. And those don't even get that much play. So yeah, just don't. There'll probably be one deck that's quirky and fun. And again, we will try to build something with this on the channel. We'll probably have a good time with it, but probably not going to be a deck I would recommend to anybody, or the deck's probably going to be fine even if you never cast this card. So yeah, save your resources for something else. I don't think this is what you want. Rhys the Evermore, 1 and a white for a 2/2 elf warrior with flash. When it enters, another target creature you control gains persist. You can pay 1 and tap it, remove any number of counters from target creature you control, activate only as a sorcery. The weird thing about this card is that it has flash, but you can only activate it as a sorcery. So you're playing it mostly to save another creature, giving something persist so when it dies it comes back. And that's not bad, per se. So in that regard, the card is at least playable. But I think so many people rush to this card wanting it to be really good, and I think ultimately that's kind of its lot in life, is if you want to play a couple of copies just to have some type of sweeper protection, or, you know, protect a creature from removal, or something with a fun enters the battlefield trigger, all right, this is probably the card for you. So again, kind of safe in that regard, but maybe just craft 1, maybe 2, and you're good. You don't need to do more than that. The only other decks I've seen with it were trying to use it to remove counters from things, usually -1/-1 counters, and it was just clunky and slow, and having to do it as a sorcery on your turn, and it's just wasn't the value that a lot of the other decks are getting out of their 2 and 3 mana cards. Which is crazy to say that on a card that has 3 abilities, but that's just kind of where we are. It felt a little bit underpowered. I think it will have a home again, but probably in something that just wants to craft a couple of them and say, all right, I'll use the persist thing, and then every once in a while removing counters will be good value. Because, you know, removing the -1/-1 from the thing that comes back, and it's kind of quirky and good. I see what you're doing with it. But I think often there's just going to be other things you want to do on time. And a lot of the decks that want to play this don't necessarily want to leave a bunch of mana up either. So yeah, it'll have a home probably somewhere. I just don't think now is it. Save your resources, get something else. Ah, yes, high perfect Morcant. And again, I see y'all already going to the comments like, how did this make your list? Like, here's the thing. And I have a video coming out where I'm going to talk about some other ways to play this. And we're doing some single card strategy series of videos where we're going to take different cards, break them down on ways you can use them, and, just different tricks with them. I don't know. If y'all are interested in that stuff, like, subscribe, all that good stuff so you don't miss those when they come out over the next week. But this card, I think, is actually playable. And again, I think I mentioned this maybe in our overperforming video, but a lot of times we're just playing like one of or two of, maybe. And if we have any way to search for cards or creatures, then I'm definitely just playing one and then I'll just get it when I need it. The problem is you just don't need a lot of things doing the minus. Actually, the deck you put it in won't have a lot of things doing the -1/-1 thing, right? The blight thing is kind of just like an added bonus on this card. You're almost never using the other part, right? This is just, hey, it's a quality card. I get a little bit of value if my opponent has a bunch of 1 and 2 toughness things, and I can keep attacking with my elves. Or, maybe you're playing enough elves that make an extra token or whatever, so you're getting a little bit of extra value out of it, and that's fine. But this isn't the build around card I think a lot of people wanted. Even people saying like, but in Commander, you could make it your commander and blah, blah. Like, I haven't even seen that many that were that impressive with it as a commander. So I think this has a lot of high hopes. But again, we're making a list of things that have underperformed. I think it's still playable. If you're playing Golgari Elves, I think you're still playing it, but you're probably searching out your 1 or 2 copies. I don't think this is something you need to go spend 4 copies worth of money or wild cards on to build. I just don't think that's necessary. Cool card, but don't know if it's really what you need to go out on right now, even if you're playing Elves. Winnowing was an interesting one to make my list because I saw a few people trying it, and here's the thing, right? It's not bad. And the concept of, okay, I'm going to play Kithkin or I'm going to play whatever, right? And they happen to be some number of those things. Like you could play this even in rabbits, I guess, right? Because they're white-green. And technically, you would have a really cool one-sided sweeper. But in the early stages of Lorwyn, you're going to run into a lot of other creature-themed decks. All of them from Lorwyn, not to mention any others that already exist that you could put a couple of cards in, right? So there's going to be fewer times that even having this is going to bring you any real value. So I would hold off. Hell, there's going to be changelings running around as well, so that's going to limit the value of this a little bit. So I would hold off a bit until the creature-themed decks kind of split off on the ones that are super tournament viable and the ones that are less so will eventually go away, right? So let's say, for instance, we might still see fairies and elves. I'm just picking 2 of them, right? And it turns out Kithkin aren't as good and goblins aren't as good or whatever, and they slowly fall off. Okay, cool. Now would be the time to go ahead and start playing Winnowing. But until then, I think you're going to see too many creature-themed decks or too many things with some changelings or whatever. It's just going to be difficult, I think, to take advantage of this. And again, the markets kind of speak to this, as I think all the regular versions were like 50 cents or less, meaning a lot of people aren't picking these up even in paper. If you're going to sweep the board, just go hard sweeper and get rid of things. Otherwise, just don't play them in your creature decks. I mean, I'm not a big fan of anything encouraging creature decks to play sweepers anyway. This one, if you're playing a creature-themed deck, it's at least potentially one-sided. If you want to just play one of in your deck, just for the upside that it comes up every once in a while, sure, but don't go spending a lot of resources on it. Oh man, this one hurts my heart. Eirdu, Carrier of the Dawn, flying lifelink 5/5, creature spells you control have Convoke. You can flip it to the other side, which is Isilu, Carrier of Twilight. It's a 5/5 flying lifelink. Other non-token creatures you control have Persist. Honestly, I think the backside's better than the front side in a lot of cases, but I'll tell you what, neither side showed up to matter in any deck list that I could find. I went looking around the internet, I went watching YouTube videos, I talked to other creators. So far, nobody had a really good idea of what to do with this. I don't know, the card still goes for $7, $8, $9 on a lot of websites and paper. So somebody believes in it. Maybe Commander stuff is being built with it, because I could find several Commander decks that people were trying to build with this. So maybe that's a thing. But right now, for Standard, I wouldn't go spend your mythic wild cards on this thing. because I don't think anything you put it in will be super competitive right now. I think there's a lot to figure out on how to best use this card. Again, both sides kind of work together and do some cool things. And honestly, just as a big body, I mean, it is a 5/5 for 5 with flying and lifelink. So if you just get one and open it and want to jam it in your deck for the upside, go for it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to craft these. I think there's just plenty of other solid bodies you could play in most colors. So I'd set this one aside and just kind of wait and see, let somebody else figure out, let them do the dirty work for you, and then come back and craft these. But here in the early stages, save your resources on this one. I almost forgot this made my list. But, hear me out. I do think Moonshadow is playable. I think Moonshadow will even have at least one deck, because again, this is in our single card strategy series, but manifesting type stuff is pretty good with this card, honestly. Solid value. But there were a lot of other things that it just wasn't quite good enough in. And we saw a lot of people try to play with this card. I found a lot of deck lists where people were jamming it, found a lot of creators that played it in early access. And it was largely okay. I would wait on this and see, unless you are playing the manifest deck or whatever, because then it's just one mana, turn it up, you have a 7/7, whatever. You're already doing what that deck wants to do. But in anything else, it did feel like it needs a little refinement. The next closest thing were probably the raise the pass type decks, where you can sacrifice things every turn or surveil stuff and put it in the graveyard. So like in those cases, it's at least playable without having to worry too much about it. But sometimes it's going to be a lot of work to just have your opponent remove it really cheaply, and that sucks. So yeah, in paper, I would really hold off though, because it's still carrying a pretty high price tag, around $20 for a lot of people, and that's really why it made the list. Not even so much for Arena, though it is a mythic, so be careful spinning those wild cards. But in paper, a set of these is still going to cost you, even on the cheaper sites, somewhere between probably 70-ish and $80, maybe as low as 65. That's pretty pricey for a set of 4, so I wouldn't be so quick to rush to pick this card up. I would wait, let the price come down a little bit, and let the decks that are going to play it become more refined. Because this might end up having more value in older formats than it does in Standard. And in Standard, I think there's going to be one, possibly two decks that are going to be able to take advantage of this, and that's probably going to be it. There's a lot of decks jamming it that I don't think it's really going to go in. But again, that's just my opinion. Feel free to check out other people because they might say differently. Also, 2 quick reminders. If you want this throwback logo from our merch, check the description down below. Also, remember, like, subscribe so you can get all those single card strategy videos. And let me know if that's even a good idea, if y'all want those types of videos or not, or are we just wasting our time? And I'm going to go ahead and link the other videos so you can see cards that are overperforming, that if you're thinking about spinning your wild cards a little safer, those would be some good suggestions. But that's all I have you for now. We'll see you next time.